This video is a quick introduction to AECOsim Energy Simulator that you'll use in your smart competition. So the two AECOsim products from Bentley are AECOsim Building Designer and AECOsim Energy Simulator. And don't forget the AECO stands for Architectural, Engineering, Construction, and Operations. Now I've opened AECOsim Building Designer with my desktop shortcut. This is AECOsim Building Designer Connect Edition. I've got my workspace set and my work set, and I'll open this working model file. So one of the things you'll do in the smart competition is take the BEM model that was created in AECOsim Building Designer. Remember, BEM is Building Information Model, and export that to an energy simulator analytical model. AECOsim Energy Simulator utilizes an analytical model. And in Energy Simulator, you run simulations to calculate the energy usage of your building, and it creates reports. You can see graph reports and detailed summary reports of the energy simulation. So here in AECOsim Building Designer, if I come to the Analysis tab, this very right-hand tool here, notice it says in the tip that pops up, Energy Analysis, create analytical space model for energy analysis. So what happens in this process is it takes the spaces. You can think of the spaces as the rooms in the building. So an architectural team would model spaces in AECOsim Building Designer. And there you can see some of the spaces here. For example, the gym is a space, then there's workrooms, conference rooms, exam room, etc., etc. So I'll just click Export right here. And I'll export this out. Notice it's going to go into the Smart Competition Workset folder, and then there's a folder under there called Energy Sim. So when you export that analytical model, it will go automatically into this Energy Sim folder. I'll just keep it as the same name. So once I do that, that will open AECOsim Energy Simulator. It's going to look very similar to AECOsim Building Designer. If we look at some of the interface components here, we have our quick access toolbar along the top up here. We have our ribbon interface. You see the different tabs here. So this is where you see differences from Building Designer. We have the Home tab, the Roofs tab. You'll be using the data managers. You'll be running calculations, and then there's a View tab. You see there's 4 different views open now. These views open up with everything in the top orientation, so we'll look at that in a minute. But now notice some differences in the Energy Simulator interface. Notice that we have this project tree part of it over here. And then down at the bottom is notifications. So this sends you messages about your model and when you run calculations. And notice, for example, right here, this one is an error. And it's telling me values should be specified, direct outside air system, exhaust air fan. And you can actually double click on these errors in here, and that will take you right to where that setting needs to be set. So it opened up the HVAC manager here for me. I'm going to rearrange the views a little bit. I find in Energy Simulator I really don't need 4 views, and maybe I'll do it similar to how the views are arranged in Building Designer. And of course you can arrange these views however you want. But if you watch the Building Designer introductory video, we talked about some of the view controls and how you can do a save settings to save these view changes, these view operations that I'm doing. Now look right here, I've kind of got this pushed around. View 1 is overlapping view 2 and 3. But one thing you can do in both of these applications is come to View and say Arrange. When you say Arrange, instead of, for example, Tile or Cascade, it will just kind of push those views together, the edges of those views together. So you'll see how now they're not overlapping. It just kind of pushed them together there. And again, we have our view control tools. Here's our rotate view. I'm going to put view 1 in an isometric view. I'll leave view 2 in the top, and maybe I'll put view 3 in the front orientation. And we also have the display styles, so I could come in here and say, for example, illustration, ignore lighting. You'll see how the analytical model is not the whole BEM model. It's basically takes the spaces and the information about those spaces that we utilize in our calculations here in Energy Simulator. And if I take a look at, for example, view 2 over here, I'll maximize that temporarily, do a fit on it. And if I zoom in here, I'm using the wheel on my mouse to zoom in. Then I'm using the wheel. You can pan around in your views. But notice, here's the different spaces. That's the room name and the room numbers that came across in the export from AECOsim Building Designer to Energy Simulator. So I'll go ahead and put view 2 back up here. I'll do a fit on it. So here's where maybe I'm going to come up here and say save settings. So the next time I open this file, those views will be arranged like that. So save settings. Another thing I like to do, I think by default this notifications window takes up a lot of room. You can always drag a lot of these things out. Notice I'm dragging it around, so now it's just floating in my interface. But then you'll notice these glyphs that show up that shows me, oh, well, if you want to, you can dock this along the whole bottom, and that's the way it was. What I like to do is use this middle one where it's just kind of docked down here, and then I'll move that up a little bit. Notice how the views moved up a little bit there. And then that way I have the whole project tree window over here available for how I'm going to utilize that. So we can always, I did a save settings, so we can come up and say close. And I'll just go ahead and exit out of the work page here. So here's my building designer that was still open back there. I'll minimize that. But I do have a shortcut for AECOsim Energy Simulator. Again, depending on how you have your Windows operating system set up. I've kind of got the older look to the desktop here. But if you're using this view of Windows, I can come over to the applications, and here's AECOsim Energy Simulator Connect Edition. So I can start it from there. You can always do a search and find these applications. So if I double click on it from here, I can get back to that file I was in. So you'll see right here is, again, the workspace and the work set. And it's showing me the last couple of files I was in Energy Simulator. So this top one in the list is going to be that one I just exported. And you can see the folder location. One of the things you can do in this work page is right click here and you get a little pop-up menu, and you can say open this folder in File Explorer, so it'll take me right to that location where the file exists out there. Now you'll notice that these files have a .dgn extension. That means design file. So our Bentley applications, a lot of them, we use that same format of .dgn for the design file. So I'll go ahead and open this file right back up here. Because, you may do some work on it, run some calculations, come back, do some other calculations. And then you can see how these views are arranged in my view and how they are rotated because I did that save settings. So that's a quick look at the interface of AECOsim Energy Simulator and kind of the difference between the BEM model in Building Designer and the analytical model in Energy Simulator. So good luck with your smart competition, and thanks a lot.